Hello and good evening for Thursday, May 9th, 2024. We have just finished watching episode 7 of Star Trek Discovery Season 5 titled Erigah. And we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our live stream review. I'm Dave Mader, and we got a great panel to break down this all tonight. Once again with us is Chris Worldmind Murphy.
Hey. I'm really looking to split in a few 7 of 9s.
Yeah, 7 of 9. It's quite the drink.
7 of limes, I should say. That's what it was. I'm just not a lime fan, though.
Yeah. And here's the guy who really gets around. And yeah, I do mean like that. It's Adam Woodward.
Like that. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good to be with you, Adam. Ashley not able to join us tonight. So we are a trio talking about this episode. And yeah, spoilers ahoy. If you have not watched this episode, then don't stay. Well, or stay if you want. You just want
to be paid.
The debt will be paid in blood. And we have a live stream. If you want to leave a comment, a question, we'll try to keep up with it here. We got the first one here from Merritt Knight. Wow, I have so much to say about this episode. Locke's story makes no sense if you add the info you get here. And I had to think about how Picard, Janeway, or Sisko would have handled that lovely couple. Okay. And Mystic Wolf says Sisko would have punched them both. Probably. That's probably true.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So with all that said, what's the headline here after this episode? I'm trying to think. I guess the Breen were more featured in this one, hence the title Erigah. Locke died, but it seems like he's gonna be brought back to life. It's kind of what they set up here with this progenitor tech. And I think that's why Maul goes with the Breen to try and, I don't know, do something with that. And yeah, like it's almost a bottle episode in a lot of ways. It's mostly at Federation headquarters, or on Discovery. But I generally enjoyed this episode. I thought it was good tension. I thought that it was nice to kind of jump around to the different characters on the ship and have the different plot lines kind of interweave. You know, you had Tilly and Adira, sometimes with Reno. You had Stamets and Book working on their kind of thing, and then was kind of Michael and Rayner and the Admiral and everybody else, and Tarina were kind of dealing with the Breen directly. Wilson Cruz and Dr. Culber was, mostly in sickbay with Locke in a very cold room. Oh, and our old friend Commander, what's her name? The Barzan, the security officer. She's back. I should know her name.
Where the hell is Detmer? Where's
Detmer?
Detmer, man?
She's busy. She's flying that ISS Enterprise somewhere or something.
They've had one episode with them in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were kind of there, and then they just haven't been there all season.
No, they took the ISS Enterprise. Exactly what Dave said. They're flying back. Maybe they're still coming back.
It's very slow.
Is that the mission? Where they put? Is that a thing? Did I miss that?
That was a mission they were put on. We don't know if they completed that mission yet. I would have thought they would have by now, but I don't really know how long of a journey.
They could have used another ship tonight. That would have been kind of fun if they showed up.
Even an old one, yeah.
It would have been leaves in the wind, apparently, compared to that Juggernaut ship.
That was great.
Lieutenant, what's the name of the security chief from Barzan? Anyway, what was the other part too in this episode that was kind of sticking out to me? It will come to me. Sorry. But yeah, like I thought it was all right, mostly. I thought they kind of figured out that Book used his Qui-Gon powers to talk to a metal card. Didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys, Adam, let's go with you next. What did you think of this episode?
After the last couple episodes, I think that tonight's was fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned it. You said it right off as tension. I felt tonight we had I just came off of it a few minutes ago, and it was edge of the seat. Trina was fantastic. Holy cow, what a great leader she is.
Yeah,
steel, nerves of steel, and I love this episode had much more Rainer in it, and acting a little. You learn more about him today. We got the feelings out of him tonight.
Yeah, we got his
You know.
backstory in this one. You know, he has a lot of experience with the Breen, going back, you know, to his early life and his family.
But you know, I know you how you guys. I mean, I haven't seen you guys from last week yet because I just watched last week's episode last night. But I felt like I like Locke a lot more than Maul for sure. I think that character is interesting to me.
Locke,
yeah. But this was a very political episode tonight. Like, and we learned way more about the Breen. Like after doing the Deep Space Nine rewatch too, you know. So we've seen Breen there, but this is in depth. Now we get their politics. We understand a little bit more about them. And guys, when that ship showed up, like, what do you think of the Dreadnought? Chris,
Well,
you said it's something.
Could they made it any bigger and scary?
Bitty. It was so big.
Big, scary. Like I thought that was effective.
Well, very
you know,
effective.
You know, in terms of like the tension with it. Yeah, Commander Non, thank you in the comments with that, you know, with her name. She was back. I gotta tell you though, like I find Locke interesting. I am really, really hating Maul. Really, really hating her. Like I think I'm supposed to feel sympathy for her or something, but I do not. I do not like her. And I think she is bad and whatever, you know. So she's, but I don't know, like that. But Locke's more intriguing because he's maybe not so petulant, and so like I don't know. I feel with Maul, she does this sort of like hold her eyes down here and go, "Oh, you better do something for him," and she just like plays this angry, bitter, I don't know, person all the time. And I guess she's got a tough backstory or whatever, but it's a little much sometimes. The amount she almost overacts, almost Shatner level for me. So it's you know, anyway, let's go over to Chris. How was this episode for you?
Well, it's funny you mentioned about Maul. There's something I was noticing about her face. I have this ability for like face recognition, but sometimes I have a really hard time, you know, recalling where I recognize said face. So I looked up the actress, and the actress is Eve Harlow, and Eve Harlow plays a character in a CW show called she plays the character Maya in a CW show called The 100, which I used to watch, and that's when I was like, that's where I recognize all this wonderfully paper thin acting. And
I like that show, The 100.
It was a good show. It was a good show. Yeah, that had its moments up until the end, and
until the end. That's right.
Okay, but all right, whatever. So she was on that show. So I was like, okay, I kind of recognize this. I was hoping for a bit more. This episode really wore me thin on it. Mostly the fight action scene where Maul. Sorry, I was gonna call him Marlo. Where Maul breaks free, and then you get all this weird GoPro bug walleye vision anytime they like grab wrists or grab a thing, and then the camera moves and like moves with it, and they flip around, and like the camera's making inhuman movements that kind of make me dizzy and disconnect me from the story. And that was a big no for me. I did not like it. And I wish they kind of didn't show that scene because it interrupted, as you said, Adam, a very tense, a very political, a very awesome scene between the Breen and the Federation that I was all about. That was the highlight of the episode for me.
It really was. That was just a fantastic scene.
Yeah,
you know,
no, that was good. Sorry, go ahead.
Learning that the Breen have multiple factions and are having their little intergalactic Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I found that was like, okay, that's, you know, because we don't very little, as Adam knows. I mean, they come in at the end of Deep Space Nine in a more significant way, but even then it's pretty brief. You don't get a ton of detail. And I feel like in this season of Discovery, we've learned more about the Marine than anything the Deep Space Nine did.
Yeah, see, the thing is,
I think
this Sorry, I just want to say this episode has legs for 3 more seasons. Between Raynor's backstory and the Breen
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
hierarchy, like there's 3 seasons worth of material there. I would watch almost half a season of just the Breen, like who like the params or
What
whatever, the
did they do?
parais.
What have they
Yeah,
been
like
doing?
just show me some day-to-day living of that life. Like Federation life's cool. We're all about the trek, sure, but we're also about the aliens. Give us some of that like alien culture living and throw us really in the mix. And
Yeah.
there's so much potential for that, and to know that it's getting cut here in like 2 more episodes, it's
Right. Well,
But
we'll see it. Go
don't
ahead,
you
Dan.
it's
think
frustrating.
this show has really like done well at, particularly the last couple seasons, exploring like not just so you sorry Dave, when you talk about Deep Space Nine, we learned a little bit about the Breen, not much, not enough to know anything about them except they're bad. They're a formidable enemy, but when you Discovery really, okay, let's talk about like the story of them. Like you definitely learn more depth than we hear, like we have, like I think in any other series, a Star Trek series about other races and alien races. I really enjoy this part of the show.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what they were kind of trying to do. And even you go back to season 1 of Discovery, they were trying to kind of expand on the Klingons and tell us more about the how many houses they had and how those houses interrelated with each other. And we can we
But
could have a
what
whole
I think
podcast.
what was bad about that was the fact that we knew the Klingons, and I don't think we like. I think that was a wrong culture to start with.
It's
Because
not
if they
that
would
it
have
was
started with
the
something we
wrong
didn't know,
culture. I don't believe it was the wrong culture. I believe it was the portrayal of the culture. It was the visual portrayal of the Klingons. It was
yeah.
so
But again,
off the scale that it just skewed everyone's vision on the show. If those Klingons looked like they did in Strange New Worlds in the last season, if they looked like those Klingons, everybody would probably be a lot more forgiving about the storylines that were set up in season 1, I believe.
maybe.
I think that's probably true. That I think that it was, but I think that that's important lesson too. That something like a change like that can be so incredibly distracting for a fan base they just tune out, right? And sometimes it doesn't matter. Like when they redesigned the Klingons, between original series and the first motion picture, and then into those movies, some people questioned it, but for whatever reason, it worked back then. People, we moved on, and then they had the Klingons go into Next Generation. And with the Breen, I think because they are so not established, and so they are kind of a blank slate to an extent, that you can do a lot more. Like tell me more about this and that about them. Because
But
other than
the,
go ahead.
you've also like think of what we've learned about Orions in this, like the Orion Syndicate, and way more there. Like you've seen more of the sort of they're not marginal, but you know what I mean by that. Marginal races mean we don't know that much about them other than
Sure.
that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
saw
Yeah.
like Orions, we saw back in Enterprise, but really haven't seen much of them since then.
Yeah, like, well, I know you don't watch Lower Decks as much, but the Tendi character there, she's helping to expand on the Orions a lot,
True,
quite,
true, true.
So anytime we have a main character that's of a particular species, there's usually that kind of potential to expand. And obviously, we know a ton about the Bajorans, and we know a little bit about the Trill, and and Vulcans, obviously, and whoever, but maybe a lot less about Deltans, a lot less about I don't know, Bolians, for instance, right? So
Well,
anyway,
to further expand on your marks about like the 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 Klingons from like the original series, TOS, and their evolution in TNG, and how people were forgiving of that, it's because the change was gradual. It wasn't as drastic. And I think the same thing's happening with like the Orions and the Breen. The portrayals of the Orions and the Breen have been gradual. Like, even though Deep Space Nine had the longer mask, right? And they've shortened it in Discovery, it kind of makes sense in an evolutionary standpoint because it is hundreds of years in the future. So like their designs are similar, but just more modernized, as opposed to being like It's
A retcon?
yeah, complete retcon. And I think that's where they're getting it wrong, is retconning things, and that leaves a bad taste in the fans, in the viewers sort of perspective, in their palate, because ultimately they want to be celebrated for watching and giving their time into all these past episodes of Star Trek, and all these new episodes. They want to have that canon celebrated, and that relationship and commitment. That's what
Yeah.
fans want. When you retcon it, it's like, screw your past. It's like, and that leaves a bad
Well,
taste in
yeah,
people's
like I completely agree with you that it's that for a lot of fans it's a huge turnoff, and then I think for a lot of, like, I don't know how to break down the numbers and what percentage of each of the fan base is feels what way, but I know that there are a lot of fans who say, whatever, as long as I get a good story, I don't care, like, Steve Shives and some other fans like that. And then you have people who are saying, well, it's all, even Steve would say this probably, like, it's all pretend, and so yeah, you can change it, whatever. And yes, you can, and you can do whatever you want. It's all made, I get it's all make believe, but I think that trying to pay respect to what's come before is, even if it's silly, even if it's dumb, I think just for consistency purposes, it's not even just like the right, it's almost like necessary, because hey Adam, when you kind of disrespect it, like, you're kind of saying, well, it doesn't matter that like, we don't care what happened in season 5 episode 3 of Voyager and some reference there, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want. And I think it's it's arrogance, and I think it's just not, it's the wrong approach overall. I think that like, it's all one big world and canon, and respecting that is important, as much as important. And I think that it's Strange New World, for instance, like, they're retconning certain things and have retconned certain things, and we're willing to forgive and sort of let some of that go. So I think you can push the envelope to an extent, and make things modernized and make things look cooler or whatever. But when it comes down to the story and what the nuts and bolts are, I think that's where people start kind of really going, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think
it has to be gradual. Like, it has to be like a slow gradual. You can't just go, oh, well, here, and then we're over here all of a sudden. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, but we've been going this way for ages, and to completely derail from what we've been accustomed to, it makes us not want to watch the show.
Right. Depend, to a extent. And so Mystic Wolf says here, my opinion on canon, it's flexible. You have an open outline to work with, but you make the changes distracting, you can take me out of the show. I guess it depends what it is, and what, like, there's so many different examples, and how, like, there's little things and there's big things. But like, Spock has a stepsister all of a sudden. Okay. Or the Klingons look like goblins for some reason in this particular era, and then they don't anymore. We're not going to explain it. Those are the things that come to mind.
Would we have been more accepting of Spock having a sister if we were introduced to Spock and then Michael Burnham? Or would it be everyone think this
yeah,
was
like, if
Spock
Strange New
show?
Worlds had come first, maybe
yeah,
maybe it's possible. But I think with Discovery's early seasons, I think there's all those things working against it, at once, on top of each other, right? And so and it had been so long, it had been like almost 20 years at that point, 15 years at that point, since we'd had a Star Trek TV show, so I think there was a lot of different expectations on different sides, right? And I agree. I love Strange New World with how they expand on the canon, they retcon things to an extent, but they don't, like, they don't change everything. I would be annoyed if everything is buttons on the ship, but they made it feel, if we still had, like, the hard plastic blinking lights and whatever, and the square seats.
That's the other thing. That's okay. So this is the thing about Discovery, right? Strange New Worlds makes this perfect balance of futuristic and analog, right?
Right.
Discovery feels completely analogless, and I have a hard time with that, because, like, I get super future technology, but this and like floaty and just like pure light panels, it's just like, I guess no, we're not meant to know what those panels do for the ship or whatever, but it just
No.
doesn't feel tactile, and it kind of disconnects, and like stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're so far in the future. That's why.
It feels like magic almost.
Yeah, it feels too magic-y in some instances. Like,
Yeah.
eh.
It is
I get
800
it.
years past even the time of original series Next Generation, 900 years, which I find interesting. That was another thing I kind of remember referencing the episode. They keep talking about like the brain's attack on Earth. I know you haven't maybe got there yet, Murphy, in the Dominion War, but they will attack Earth. They're like, that was 800, but that was like 800 years ago. And I was like, what's 800 years ago for us? Like 1200. I'm like, this is like the time of like the Plantagenet dynasty. Like, I don't know much about what happened really like 800 years ago.
It's true.
So
consider that, 30 years ago, not even that, 25 years ago, cell phones are just becoming, into society. And like, but like things happen fast, and I'm not so hung up on the technology side of it. I think that they tried early in the show, just like we said earlier, just to do too much too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it probably, well, it did. It backfired on so many people, and
Right.
the loss, because I think that Discovery introduced Strange New Worlds. Like we got Pike out of this.
We got a great show, yeah. Like, and I think this
Yeah,
show's
yeah.
given us some good stuff too.
But the show's a lesson in retconning Star Trek, in what not to do, because ultimately the show had to retcon itself by throwing it 900 years in the future and completely disconnect it from any of the actual like legitimized canon that we've grown accustomed to.
Right.
And I'm down for the super far future adventure. I just don't want to see it ultimately become a timey-wimey retcon in itself. I'm a little concerned the show's going to end with Michael Burnham going back in time and it was all just a dream or something.
It was all
You know.
she shot JR.
It better not end like that. I don't, please. Let's talk about tonight's episode, because that.
Okay, let's talk.
Let's get into it. 23
let's
minutes.
Get it.
We're rambling.
Like we've been 23 minutes on the end, but hey, I think interesting conversation, and I think it was good. Okay, so we catch up with Locke and Maul to start off the episode. Basically, like they, we saw they got away in that Terran shuttle or whatever 2 episodes ago, and this other Federation starship, which name escapes me at this moment, catches up to them and has them in a tractor beam. So that, kind of leaving off, Discovery, of course, can get here very quickly with the spore drive. And then we get a kind of a cool overhead shot as we kind of see the dorsal windows. And we see that Captain Burnham is talking to Commander Non, who is here to, deal with the security around Locke and Maul, which kind of makes sense. It's kind of a smart reason to bring her back here for this final season and for this episode. I got to tell you guys, this security uniform, I like the idea behind it. I like the idea of security being a different color and whatever, but this fabric is not forgiving. Even if you're in incredible shape, it reminds me of like Danny DeVito as the Penguin in Batman Returns. It's like you're wearing like a baby jumper. It's just like you're a bit. It's just like just make it like the other Starfleet uniforms. I don't understand why it's a different fabric, but I digress. You can see there with their sort of that side profile, like that's what I'm kind of talking about with that onesie Danny DeVito as the Penguin. If it was a different color.
Yeah. It's like when he's underground and he's all like eating the fish and he's like, "What do you mean I can't take over the city?
Cold-blooded. I'm an animal." He's eating the fish and whatever. It bites the guy's nose. I don't know. That's what I couldn't help but think of here. And we see here that Non does not like Book because Book did detonate isolytic weapons, and I was like, oh yeah, right. She's got a good point here about.
I feel like she looked different too, like her cheek implants were higher and more out of the way than they used to be. Like they used to be more down center.
Well, there was like an episode where she kind of got a new technology, right? Where that got like upgraded. I
Yeah,
think that-
something to that degree happened, which it was like, really? Why was it that hard to make the little things on her? Like, because it was a cool look. And
Yeah.
it differentiated them from, a lot of other species. Did we really have to take it away by upgrading it just to put glue on some?
Yeah, it made her
Some
eye like her
weird
eyes used to be
choices.
glossier when she had the breather, more like the older school breather or whatever. And so anyway, yeah, but when they got to the 31st century, that was part of what they did with her character.
Oh, right, that's right. Oh, right, she came from the past. Right. Okay.
Yeah, she's a 23rd century or centurion. I don't know what the word is, but anyway, so she's in the mix. What's this book she gives? Oh, is this the clue? What was it was Locke and Mall's book? I can't remember what this book was. Not the book, the character. Anyway, Captain Burnham goes to sick bay. We check in here with Dr. Culber, who he's getting ready to treat Locke, and then of course we got Maul. This is Maul always just kind of spewing venom and just ugh. I'm so over her. Just can't deal with it. Anyway, so Dr. Culber's treating him in sickbay during this segment. Got all these security officers around.
I think it's just she's unnecessarily like spiteful against anybody because she's like, no, it's just me and him. We're the only ones that's like we can do it on our own. Unless you work in the black market and you're a shady criminal, then I'm cool. But if you're any type of like Breen or Federation or some type of militant group, then she acts all like, get away from me, and freaks out. And
yeah,
she's
and I'm
not,
and I'm just like,
she's supposed to be smart, but she's not willing to,
she did not even willing to
take
fake
part. Yeah, right.
Not even willing to sort of go through. She's just always belligerent, I guess is the only way to describe her. And so it's it's just like you think you would just like for this situation try to like play nice, but never. Anyway, so we see Discovery goes back to Federation headquarters. They're getting ready to take Locke and Maul to there, and then Admiral Vance says, "Nope, stay where you are. I'm going to come over and talk to you. It's classified." Which they meet up in the ready room, and he's like, "Well, the Breen are coming here to get Locke for the blood bounty, and they're on their way right now. So you need to take them and go and just run away." And Captain Burnham doesn't want to do this. She wants to, stay and try to negotiate and talk through this problem instead, which I kind of got the idea is like, yeah, you can go on the run, but, eventually they'll catch up. Maybe. I don't know. Not with the spore drive, presumably, but it seems like you could kind of run forever. But Captain Burnham says, I don't want to do it. And the Admiral's like, okay.
I mean, okay, the only reason I could see that going down like that is like if they dipped and then the Admiral's like, I don't want to tell you where they are, and he's like, all right, well, we're just gonna annihilate your whole fleet and scan the galaxy for them anyway. And then,
right. Yeah, there was no guarantee
lose the upper hand
that this was going to save them per se. Right. So that's kind of our teaser for the episode, how we get into it. I don't recognize this writer name, M. Raven Metzner. Or Raven, I suppose. And then we have
Raven
John
Metzner
Dudkowski, who's the director this time. Okay, so we get this meeting here in the Federation headquarters thing. We saw that Rayner, and it's explained in the episode. There's a reason the Romulans say never turn your back on a Breen. We got no room for xenophobic comments here, Commander. But they're kind of discussing the battle plan and what to do here. And basically Captain Burnham has to throw Rayner out of this meeting eventually, because
he was saying something. He was saying like the Romulans were like correct, and how you should deal with a species like this. You just basically attack first.
Yeah, well, there's an episode of Deep Space Nine where this Breen attacks a Jem'Hadar, and then the Romulan says, "Well, we have an expression: never turn your back on a Breen." That ends up helping them, get out of the situation. But, and then so Captain Burnham goes and takes Rayner aside and says, "I'm not gonna have to worry about you here." I thought he should have been a little bit more forthcoming in his background, instead of her having to like pull it out of him. But
I think that scene could have been different in the conference room with Admiral Vance and President Trina, where if he had been more forthcoming. I mean, I like how they're giving us mystery around this guy, and we're learning it. We're learning as we go, so it was okay. The scene was good,
right?
But you definitely feel like this guy has a history with the Breen. Like something more happened.
Yeah, well, I think like even something like if the Admiral said, "I know you got a history here, Commander," but like let's just put that aside for a second.
Well, he was a captain. They know his history. They have to.
They do. Vance knows his history. Vance has known him for 30 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, then we catch up here with Tilly, who's getting ready to. She's taking her phaser back. She wants to defend the cadets over at Federation headquarters, but Stanley says, "No, we need you here." I got this little card, this Betazoid metal card thing from which is like basically the next clue in putting to the progenitors tech, and I need your help to do it. She kind of puts him on a path, right? But this is kind of the only interaction between Tilly and Stamets further on. And then back in sick bay, they got the Breen refrigeration unit, which I guess is going to help Locke get better. I didn't really understand why you needed special technology to make it cold. It's just that seems like it should be easy enough to do. I mean, it only goes down to absolute zero, right? Like you can only get so cold. But
maybe the technology needed to the technology they needed was only able to take whatever liquid medication they had to give him and make it into a vaporous cold air so that his jelly body could actually absorb it and heal.
Yeah, I thought maybe it would have been interesting if he had gone more jelly, in this kind of situation, right? And I thought it was kind of like they're like, well, we can't separate Locke and Maul because then they'll go crazy or whatever, or it's like, I'm like,
oh, he doesn't have a chance of surviving if she isn't nearby, and then it's like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then Captain Burnham, she's like, well, why? They're coming. The Breen are coming here to get you. Why? And I'm like, if you were gonna stop being a Starfleet captain, Burnham, you should be Batman because you might be the world's greatest detective. The way she kind of like puts together like what his story is. They don't tell him anything, but then she's like, you're royalty. You're part of the throne. Like she puts
cold reads him and he grunts his way through the interrogation.
Yeah, basically, right?
Cold reads him.
Cold read him. The other idea is it's supposed to be very cold in here because this is cold Breen technology, right? But go back a few here. You can kind of see Culber's got like that overcoat. I'm like, that is a good looking
snazzy. It
snazzy
looks so
overcoat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's this look all season?
I know. Like it would look great.
This is his battle ready look. Like, damn.
Yeah. And the security officers look better with their jackets on. It helped, mask their Danny DeVito egg suits. Anyway, so then we see here Adira and Tilly talking about the Betazoid clue and what to do with it. It comes down to a manuscript that's like the Betazoid scientists who have been part of the hiding the progenitors tech, and they kind of like just figure out there's somebody they asked what's the computer's name, Zora, can you tell us who is an expert on ancient manuscripts, somebody in all the Federation headquarters? And it turns out you don't even have to go to Federation headquarters, you have one right on Discovery. It's Reno. Jet Reno. Always a pleasure. As she's doing things to the ship, getting ready for a potential battle with the Breen.
Yeah, she's tuning the phasers. She's like, you gotta make sure the targeting's on. They're a little sloppy if we get into battles with the Breen. Last thing is to want a sloppy targeting system. Like, and she wanted to go fix the shields.
They gotta put more of her in the show. But what I liked about the episode was that it really used the crew and the different teams in a more interesting way. Not like 85% screen time with Michael, who, even though I don't dislike Michael as the captain, but I'm like, we spend so much time with her in a given episode, and this one at least felt a little bit more balanced. And Jet Reno's always funny and always got the quips, and she's kind of helping them solve this manuscript thing. But just
Well,
then,
yeah, they interrogate her about her past. She's like, "Oh, I kind of fluffed that about my resume. I'm not exactly."
might have padded my resume. And we
Yeah,
find out,
but-
before she was in Starfleet, she was like a pilot and a
Well, this is
bartender.
a great scene. Like, yeah, you're reading the big line here too.
Right.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was a smuggler. Basically, it's like, you were a smuggler.
Yeah, she lived this whole life before Starfleet. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And
She's
then
got a bartending shift tonight.
mhm.
Yeah,
But then-
that's what we.
But then
found out.
there's like a shadow that comes over the window here, and we see that the Breen ship is here, guys. We get a sense of the scale. It's like, it seems like it's, I don't know, probably like 8 times bigger, 10 times bigger than Federation headquarters itself.
I
And
think
then,
they just could have, basically run it over, and nobody would have known any different.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
massive. Like, none of the Breen
Yeah.
ships in the Deep Space Nine era are this big, not even close. So something that has
No,
changed.
it's like one of like the Royal Juggernaut ships. It's like there are only so many of these, and this is basically an Earth destroyer by the looks of it. Like,
Yeah. You almost get like Borg vibes off those green glows, but it's intimidating looking, as they're blocking out the sun basically with how big they are. And then back here in Federation quarters, they're getting ready for it. I was like, "Where's Michael Chan? Why isn't he here?" But he
Yeah.
was not. He didn't. He
should
wasn't.
He should be the one being like, we can't scan their ship.
Yeah, like I don't get it. He was back here. Anyway, this Breen guy's like, give us what we want. We want Locke and Maul, and there's no negotiation, basically. So there's tension here. And then Stamets is trying to undo his puzzle. He's not getting much luck, and
He's got all of the galaxies and planets and systems laid out, and he's trying to figure out which ones are which by eliminating them by elements and like metals. And this was a scene where I thought it would lead them ultimately to, like, them taking the metal thing, and then like Stamets just kind of glances through the hole of it and sees it matches up with the map that they've been looking at for hours,
like
and
Da
he's
Vinci Code
"Oh."
or something.
Yeah, like some Da Vinci Code, but it's not quite that way,
Right.
because empaths, I guess.
Yeah.
Have the empath passcode.
Unless you have an empath, you're not going to find it, right? But yeah, they're trying to solve this thing. He says, "What about the Betazoid colonies?" And we're told that they had none 800 years ago. Beta Z has no colonies in the time of like the next generation. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, so then they're. I guess they do it by this point. So anyway, Book and Stamets working on finding a needle in 10,000 haystacks, as Stamets put it. Then there's this scene afterwards with Burnham and Rayner, where he's looking out the window at the Breen ship, and she's like, "What happened with you? You think this would be in his file, but I guess not." But he plays the scene very well. What's his name? Keith Callum Rennie. I always want to just call him number 2 from Battlestar. But
Ray from Due South.
He's the first Ray, the better
He's the
Ray.
second Ray.
No, he's the worst Ray.
Oh no, he's the second Ray. Yeah.
Yeah, the second Ray is no good.
Okay, I think you're talking about him in Due South. Let's keep the Battlestar Galactica.
And Californication.
Yeah, and Californication. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that.
He's
too.
great in Californication.
Yeah, great actor. Like, I just don't think he could replace Ray.
Hi, Adrian Park Tucker.
Yeah. When do we find out he's a Cylon? Well, it's already happened. He's
Yeah.
a Cylon with pointy ears. This show.
Like, I don't want to get into Battlestar Galactica, but anyway. Can we go back to the Tig Notaro scene?
This one is coming up.
No, was this the one where
the bartending when she's fixing things and talks about?
Yeah, there was 2 lines that I had to look them up because I couldn't remember them exactly. But when they asked her, can we use your help? And she's talking about fixing the phasers if we start shooting up with the Breen, and then I think it was Adira said, "Everyone seems to think that's inevitable." This is the line. "It's the whole faceless helmet vibe, truncheons, jackboots. Where's the nuance?" I think that line was awesome.
That was a great line.
That was a great line. Where's the nuance?
Where's the
And then-
nuance?
And then the next one, I'd smuggled. I had a lot of jobs. Blah blah blah. Oh wow, you've really got around. Oh, sorry, not like that. Oh yeah, like that.
Oh, like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like that was my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I do. Oh, I mean like that. She's
Yeah.
just like, I was like, cool. I love Jet Reno. One of the
That's my
best.
favorite scene in the episode for sure.
Then in sick bay, the cold sick bay with the jackets, Colbert talking to Locke, and Maul. Every time I see her, just
Brooding.
just
should
the brooding, the poutiness. I don't know.
Oh, then you'll love her in the 100. There's
Oh.
so much broody poutiness.
Just order what you did in the 100. Do it here.
Yeah. Is this where Locke and Maul decide that they have to try to escape, or she has to try to escape, or whatever? Or they come up with this stupid plan.
Yeah, pretty much. Locke's like, listen, you're not gonna like what I'm about to do, but you gotta get away because we can't be caught. We gotta be free. We gotta be free. Even though these people have gone through extensive efforts to show they're trying to help you and to keep you alive, but you guys gotta be free because you can't trust the Federation. You can't trust anybody but yourselves. You better, reach
Right.
out to the black market and
Like-
trust the Thieves Guild.
This whole idea of them versus the galaxy, I don't know. It's just a little it's a little cliche, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's so okay. It's so painfully wanting to be Romeo and Juliet without
actually
know,
doing that.
actually doing that. Even though they set it up, even in this scene, I really thought they were gonna play it off as he's dead and it was a ploy, and she, it was all just a big trick, and he's actually alive. But I don't know. Apparently he's dead, and they're gonna bring him back to life with progenitor magic, which is this is the other thing I'm getting a little tired of with Star Trek. Is they keep having this trope where they introduce a cool character in a season and then kill them off by the end of a season instead of just keeping them around.
I'm tired of them cheating death in Star Trek. We did it in Wrath of Khan with Spock, brought him back in Search for Spock. That was pushing it enough, and then they did it again in Star Trek Into Darkness, but this time it's Kirk they bring back to life. And then this, come on, but I guess in
they
Lower
did
Decks,
it with Culber in season 4.
all right, they did do it with him too. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't I don't know, some people are dead on forever, and other people definitely are not. But just before we move on, can we talk about how good that security jacket in the black looks good over that egg suit? I gotta tell you.
Speaking of jackboots.
Yeah, exactly. It's no wonder they're afraid of them. They don't have a very welcoming appearance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. And then back in Federation headquarters, the main room here, the Breen are beaming over. They beam. I kind of liked their transporter effect with the green. Not the Romulans had that too, but it looked cool. Anyway, the Breen guy shows up, and he's not even going to speak English. He just speaks in that Breen language for the first part here, and then this guy is translating for him until Tarina eventually calls him out. No, he didn't call me this. He actually called me this or whatever, some other insult.
He's he didn't say that. I think he said we were not worthy of speaking correctly to us. Colaxian worms or something like that. Basically called them worms, and he stops in his boots. He's like, "Oh, you."
Yeah, well, I guess Tarina knows how to speak Breen.
Yeah. Which
This is again, we saw so much more out of her tonight than we've been seeing so far.
Well, do you think it would be interesting if in Star Trek, if I'm trying to look for another shot of Tarina, but okay, I gotta go back. With Tarina, I'm maybe she should run against Rillick in the election and see who would come out as the president. Because she's the president specifically of Navarre, not of the entire Federation, but she's she's serving in a sort of vice president role in this episode. Not to mention, I also wanted to point out that Saru's not in this episode, even though you would think he would be in this episode. This is where he lives now.
Saru, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad
Well,
he
they
wasn't
mentioned
in
him.
this episode.
They say he's on a mission.
He's on a mission.
But they call him Captain Saru, and he's now Ambassador Saru. So that was part of me wonders that has to do with these reshoots or something, if that was a relic of before that. But anyway, so the Breen standoff is heating up in the scene. The guy, Buddy, the uncle, he pulls out like his whatever this weapon
Honestly,
is.
this whole episode feels like a relic of everything prior to reshoots. I bet you the reshoots work within the next 2 episodes, and this was like, I really honestly feel like this was set up for like potentially 3 seasons of great storytelling.
Maybe, I guess we'll never know. So anyway, but I like how they were like, yeah, well, we already talked to your rival, the one who conquered my world all those years ago, and we get a canonical confirmation that there are women Breen, because they refer to her as she all these times. And to this point, we only met male Breen. So that's another small little detail figured out here. Back in the holding cell, yeah, this is where Locke like pulls out his stuff out of his life support bio bed and kind of is able to get this thing going.
He hacks his bio bed and overdoses on pain meds.
Right, basically, yeah. And I was just, but then like Maul is fighting in the room. I'm like, there's no way that 2 individuals could take on the entire Federation headquarters, an entire starship like this, but we're led to believe that yes, they can do it. An entire security force that's present, and this is with one of them down on the biobed. So it's just her against everybody.
Well, yeah, one of them fatally down on the biobed, can't get off the biobed, and is using his own like death as a distraction for her to escape and do God knows what to escape, because he's like, as long as she's escaped and the Breen don't have her, my life is worth it. And this is where his whole storyline falls apart and it becomes garbage.
Unless she's pregnant.
Is she pregnant? Did they mention this?
No, but like that's the only reason I could think of that he would do this. Like, why?
They're married, apparently. That's good enough. You find out they're actually married. And that, like, she's not pregnant. He's just doing it because he loves her. He's got the fifi so hard for this woman that he's willing to commit, suicide over it just so she can escape in the most asinine way. The scene was performed dumb.
Why did she even agree to it?
The fight scene was dumb.
The fight scene was dumb.
Why did she? Yeah, okay, this scene, right? Go back to that screenshot with Don.
This one?
This scene? No, the next one. No, you just had it. Yeah, this one. I hated this. You can't tell me you can't see every corner of this room with this low-hanging smoke in the room. You couldn't see that Maul was like gonna tackle you.
She's got personal cloaking technology, we're told. I was like, that's a new one. Like,
what? Since
you haven't established that at all. Like, we've seen that the Jem'Hadar can.
It's not that she has personal cloaking technology. She just has personal embedded technology that makes her non-scannable. That they didn't find when she was in medical and in handcuffs. They didn't scan her. Like, there's so many
like things there. Yeah, I agree, and it's very like sort of annoying, just like it's because it kind of insulting the audience, right? And I'm just like, you're telling me with all these security officers on board, all these Starfleet officers on board, you go, hey, somebody's escaped, go look for her. Like, even if she can't cloak, she's just like, you can't scan her with a tricorder. Fine.
Okay, guys, this is nothing new to Star Trek. Okay, they've always made the security officers look stupid, like right back to original series.
Okay, that's a really good point, Adam. That's a really good point.
Well, they're not getting any better 800, 900 years later, I gotta say. And anyway, so moving on.
The thing is, don't sign up for security, because either you're gonna die or be killed off or look stupid.
You're never gonna look great. Yeah.
What didn't look great and look stupid was that whole escape scene. I wasn't a fan, and I breathed a deep sigh of relief when we got back to this very important very intense scene, and I wish we never went to the medic bay for that.
Like,
little
thank
break.
goodness it was only like 45 seconds long, because it was.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you guys.
And it's working, even though, like, you know, these guys are in faceless, expressionless helmets, right? Like, they're not
but
able to emote, but you know,
they did well moving, like cocking the heads and like looking.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't just nothing. You know, there was some emotion there with.
No, I think in spite of those things, they did really well with it. This guy, whoever is behind this performance, with, you know, the body language and the expressions, it works. And, you know, I'm watching, like, just to talk about Star Wars for a second, in the Mandalorian, they do a good job in that show too. I think of finding a way to act around that.
I would consider these guys one of the most intimidating villains in Star Trek lore so far.
They definitely sell them as such, you know, and so
top
like
5.
But tonight, I think you just elevated that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, they've come further along than they had in all of Deep Space Nine, but I like that they referenced all that. They're like, yeah, they destroyed San Francisco basically back then and whatever. Anyway, so back in sickbay, they realize that Locke is not doing well. Culber's doing his best, but they're going to need a Breen doctor. Then there's we go over here with Book and Stamets, and Book is going to run off and try to catch Maul, but like Stamets stops him. He's like, no, we have to focus on our mission. That has to be our priority. I was like, that's good advice. I like that, and I like that Book listens to this in this moment.
He's showing change in his attitudes. He's not just gonna go all willy-nilly and drop nukes on things anymore.
Yeah,
I'm not Starfleet. I don't have to follow you.
Right. Well, you know, we get a little bit of that by the end of this episode, where he's like, because they give Maul, who willingly goes with the Breen anyway, you know, and you know, he's like, this is wrong. This is, you know, I'm like, is it? Anyway,
Stamets figures out
like the Betazoids are telepaths, and therefore you might be able to use your empathic abilities to talk to this metal key card. He's like, I'll give it a shot. And that's exactly what he does, you know. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't see this coming. He's like, there's open space. I see open space, and then field of fire. All like some kind of. I guess this is meant to be the Badlands. Is that what we're seeing here?
Yeah, that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah, like I didn't recognize it as that, but then at the end of the episode, they said that they're going there, so it seems to be
exploding pulsars, really tight cluster clouds, huh?
Yeah, the Badlands. So we're gonna get a new look on the Badlands next week, which I'm excited about. You know, so anyway, so he kind of figures this out, and he's like, okay, there's your clue. Now I'm gonna go try to help with the situation with Maul. Then the Breen doctor shows up.
I feel like there was a missed opportunity here for the Breen doctor to say, what is this, the Dark Ages?
Yeah.
So there's actually a reference. I've just been doing some reading here, but you know, references Undiscovered Country and how similar this particular scene is, and they didn't use that line, but they, you know, I don't think they use that line in Undiscovered Country. But remember when McCoy was over to see Chancellor Gorkin to see if he could fix him, and anyway, they're just calling it out.
He says, I don't even know his anatomy.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, but this Breen doctor outfit, it has like the Breen symbol like highlighted in the chest, and then he had like these long black leather rubber gloves or whatever. It was a kind of a really interesting look on the Breen medic, as compared to the other Breen in this episode.
I wish Culber had been like, you know, ship computer, just record everything that they're doing, like study everything, and like I feel like there's a missed or cut out scene of the Breen doctor working more on him, and you know, being like, yeah, no, he's not gonna make it. Like, even we can't fix him. Like,
yeah,
that's, I think we needed that, but we didn't get that. We just kind of get this scene, and then, you know, Burnham jumps around the ship a bit, and they're like, where's Maul? Oh, we've got her in custody. These guys, you know, talk her down. And then she proceeds to have an emotional, like, you better be there for your boyfriend because he's gonna die. And then with this like POV, camera stuck to her face, tears in her eyes, tears in our eyes. At least that's what the writers wanted, but there were no tears from my eyes. It was just in my screen. And she runs all the way back to Locke, and he's blurry-eyed, and he's all like, "I think I took too much," says the heroin addict, and then friggin' passes out and dies. And we get the worst death scene since, like, I don't know.
But yeah, because it's a non-death scene because he's coming back. Like, could you be any more obvious with it? He's not dead
Can't
yet?
write a character this good and kill him off. Like, he's the prince of the Breens. He has to come back. He's Breen Jesus.
He's the descendant of the
Jesus.
Emperor himself. He's been touched by the hand of God. Anyway, but he dies. Locke's sad, or Maul's sad. So she'll be even more insufferable than ever now, I suppose.
And he'll be back in exactly 2 episodes, which is about 3 days. Because this whole season's happened within a time frame of like a week.
Right. So then, well, he's dead, and so they want. Is this one? Yeah, she reveals that they're married. We see, like, I guess that's how the Breen do their marriage thing, is like a little tattoo of sorts.
Well, it's a branding. It's not so much a tattoo; it's more of a branding.
Yeah, a branding. Like a prison branding, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's like, "Well, you have to take me with you now because we're married, and that's like Breen law or whatever." And he's like, "Well, you won't be welcome," but there's a whole like pitch she makes to him.
Married. We're gonna have to work out this paperwork. You shouldn't be getting half the things, but if there's a prenup, God.
And also to go, she's like, "Oh yeah, there's this technology that is going to make you so powerful you won't even need him to."
Why?
Why would she do this?
Why would she even? What? Why? Why would this? Why? I get she's grief stricken, but why let this information out? He was already willing to take you. He was already willing to take you, and like. He had the prince's death. He had everything he needed to go back and like make his glory and become king of the Breen. He didn't need to know about the super secret death technology. That didn't need to be a thing, but she's going to tell him because it's like, well, I'm going to use him as resources to hunt it down so I can save my dead jelly boyfriend, husband. Yeah, jelly husband.
Well, he's not so jelly at the moment. Patient disease. There you go. Anyway, so I agree. I didn't really understand that either. Adam, do you have a theory as to what she's up to here?
Well, I think it just reinforces again that how awful she is. Like she's about her.
Yeah, her and Locke, and that's it. You know, and damn anybody else. Like, you know, ugh.
If only her father was a better father.
Yeah, her dad was mean to her, so she's like going to sell out every living person she possibly can. I don't know. It's hard to justify in any kind of meaningful way or any way, really.
It is because Book is such an empathic person. It seemed like his entire society and planet were empathic people by nature, and she is not in any way. She is just greedy and interested,
selfish,
narcissistic, selfish, and just like a terrible representation of their species. Like, where's her empath abilities? Like,
she's human. She's our species, so it's like,
is she human? I thought she was, but how does that play into Book's life?
Well, Book's surrogate father was human.
Book's mentor that taught him to be Book.
Yes,
is the father of Maul.
Correct. Who was human.
But isn't Book's whole thing like a religion that's based around his species culture?
Well, Book himself is Qui-Gon. He's not human. He's from but his species by default are actually poachers. Like they're not friendly with animals and whatever. They're kind of
But no, right. But the Kwai-Jans have like the hunter sect, and then they have like the religious sect, which I believe to be is what Book is studying and has made him an empath to the people, essentially.
Yeah, well, yeah. Book was born. I'm trying to remember all the details of it. It's been a while because they blew up the entire planet. But yeah, the Kwai-Jan were sort of not. Book was atypical of most Kwai-Jan, is what we're kind of told.
Right. So she's not Kwai-Jan. She's human.
She's human. And
Why is
Cleveland
she
Booker
not
the Fourth
Kwai-Jan?
was also human.
But what is a Cleveland Booker the Fourth? What did he mentor? I'm so confused now because I was under this belief that Book was like a religious figure, or not a religious figure, but a religious practitioner within the Kwai-Jan species, and he was taught, and she's like a Kwai-Jan as well. I thought she was Kwai-Jan this whole time. You're telling me she's human?
Yes.
What? That doesn't make any sense. And why do the humans have to keep slipping with all the other species?
I don't know.
Can't they get their... Why?
Hey.
We just have two aliens get like... Why is it always going to be...
Adam, can you help me console Murphy here with this dilemma?
No, I don't. I'm not obsessing about it. It's okay.
Yeah, well, it's a whole thing. Anyway, so they give Maul over to the Breen. The Breen leave, and Book is not happy about the situation. But then they have the clue now, and they're headed to the Badlands. Everybody, that's kind of the end of this episode. Is they're kind of like,
well, the clue is that they have a library card.
So they should be more worried about Maul telling them about the progenitors tech. I think that should be definitely a concern, because now they might be going head to head with the Breen instead of just locking Maul. Like
they said that they got to go now because they've got to get to it before them.
Well, they can. Luckily, they have the like the Spore Drive is still faster than any ship at warp, right? So they can get there way faster and get out.
For the
and you know what?
I still
love going to Code Black. I love it. Every
Black
time.
Alert.
Yeah.
Black Alert.
Sorry, Black Alert. Pardon me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice addition to the alert system.
There's a final conversation here between Captain Burnham and Rayner. You know, it must have been hard for you today. He's like, you know, you do what you gotta do, right?
I just don't want it to happen again. We're not gonna let this not happen again.
Yeah, just wanted it to happen again. So she takes her seat and they go to Black Alert, and that's the end of the episode, more or less, right? So
dippity doo-dah.
Dippity doo-dah, guys.
Badlands to go check their library card at the Bajoran library and find that book.
Hey Dave, I have a couple things.
Clue. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I didn't know if there would be any trivia. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Then Adam.
So for the fourth episode in a row that Doug Jones is not credited and does not appear. Although Trina did mention some intel that Saru provided that helped in the plot. In case you missed it, Jones recently explained his absence. He was off doing Hocus Pocus 2. And but we'll be
Hocus
back.
Pocus 2. Okay, that's why he couldn't be here.
Yeah.
He's with the witches.
He's with the witches. Lack overdosed on tricortisine, potent stimulant used in this next generation era, derived from cortisine, cortisine introduced in the classic original series episode City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh yeah, like hold on. When McCoy goes crazy off the cortisine, right? You know, and he was like,
yep. Assassins!
They're gonna get me.
That's right. That was that episode. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm glad you had that handy.
That would be great if he had just been like murderers, assassins. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the stuff.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Okay,
maybe he was kind of delusional.
Considering using a tribble infestation as a ruse to buy time with the Breen. As Discovery needs to nod at tribbles every episode or two. Apparently, I haven't caught that, but
there was like probably a tribble nod in every episode. Yeah. Because there was that one scene where there's like a pet tribble just like crawling along. It's like they've got a neutered tribble in the halls.
Yes. When the Breen show up, the Discovery is set to Code 1 Alpha 0, which is used to signify a ship in distress, first seen in Next Generation Relics. Sorry?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Mole sarcastically mentioned the Book should try to sell her a goat farm on Bopak 3. referencing the Gamma Quadrant planet from Deep Space Nine episode Hippocratic Oath.
They had a goat farm?
Apparently.
Hippocratic Oath. Okay. Trying to remember that episode.
Okay. Apparently, Betazoids can imbue an object with information telepathically.
Apparently.
This is new.
This is new. Yeah.
Non-Zions, you called this earlier. Non-Zions weren't bright blue in this episode. It was established back in season 3 that when they're outside their native atmosphere, Barzan's eyes change to bright blue. And then there's
when they're in their atmosphere, yeah, their eyes change, right? Is that the idea?
no. When they're out of their atmosphere, they go to bright blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's some speculation here. Could the shady antiquarian archivist Reno used to work with be Pelia? Remember who Pelia is?
I think so.
The Carol Kane character in.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love a crazy theory. Yeah.
Well, there's one for you. So.
Well, she might still be alive.
Yep.
That'd be great if she shows up. That would be hilarious. Although we know she can't die if she does, but yeah.
Anyway, let's move over to ratings now. There's just some fun little things.
Oh, good. Thanks for bringing those in. I wasn't expecting any trivia tonight. So, okay, guys. Adam, we missed you last week. So, do you want to give us your rating for Whistle Speak?
Yeah, I'm glad. Actually, I'm glad I liked it. I liked it enough. So, I'll give that one an 8.
Okay.
And then I really liked tonight. I can forgive that one fight scene that I get where you guys are coming from, but we didn't talk about it enough was the actually negotiation scene in that boardroom there between the Breen and the council, and that was fantastic. I'm going to give this tonight's 9.5.
9.5. Okay. All right. Murphy, you're up next.
I was pretty high up on the whole, political, like battle lines being drawn sort of intrigue and tension. So that gets high points for me. It definitely gets a knock for the terrible escape scene and kind of everything having to deal with Maul and just sort of like the 180 on their whole story and killing Locke. So like, I don't know. I felt like kind of the whole episode felt meh to me. So I'm giving this one a 7.5.
Okay. And Ashley's given us an 8.5 via the message. And I like this is probably the episode I've liked the most in 4 weeks. So I'm going to go 8.5. I thought it was pretty solid. For a bottle episode, basically, where it's not like they threw a fight scene that was probably the worst part of it. But I don't need action per se or that much spectacle. So overall, I thought it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I thought it worked for me. Yeah, no worries. So we're averaging an 8.5 tonight. This has 6.3 on IMDb with 115 votes. I can always manage to find a really angry review here on IMDb about Discovery somewhere. But anyway, that's beside the point.
I will see on this episode, people are generally liking it. So what was that? What was IMDb's?
IMDb's at 6.3 right now. But it's it's only 100 so many people that have voted today. Yeah. Which I'm not even one of them. So anyway,
when I didn't go to IMDb tonight, and but. So everybody else seemed to really enjoy tonight.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's a positive thing. Looking ahead to the next episode, I just want to trying to remind myself what the title of it is. It's called Labyrinths. Any speculation there, guys?
I feel like they're going to get lost in a library.
A labyrinth?
A labyrinth, and it's going to be very like... what were they called? Wadi, the species.
You think it's gonna be like Alamarine? You think it's gonna be like
Alamarine?
It's only a game.
It's only a game. I'm expecting these type of shenanigans. And then probably in the last 3/4 of the episode, we'll get some like crazy epic reveal, which is gonna set up the final ultimate episode. And I don't know how they're gonna tie it together, honestly. Again, this episode felt like they were setting up legs for much more expansive storytelling, and I'm a little disappointed that we're not gonna get that because the 7.5 for me is all in the Breen portion of this episode and the explanation of their hierarchy and their power struggles and their dead emperor, and I want to know more about that, and we're not going to get that in 2 45-minute episodes, unfortunately. That's like a
Well,
whole season's worth that we could have explored.
we can't undo the cancellation, sadly. So we'll have to see if maybe they'll have hopefully a good finale. They're gonna get one more season than Enterprise got. So
What if they make this like expanded upon in Starfleet Academy? And they make Starfleet Academy like kind of like Game of Thrones.
that would be unexpected, but maybe maybe that will happen. Any ideas from you, Adam, as we sign off for the night?
I really enjoy Mystic Wolf's last comment there. Actually, I think that
Do we meet River Song next week? Yeah,
there's a
that'd be fun.
tiny whammy there, Chris.
Yeah, there you go. I like the tie-in. Okay, well, we'll be back for the final episode. I didn't pull. I could have put.
If I can just say this, is that I'm if anything, this episode really built it up for me tonight. I was excited, edge of seat, very like full of tension. I'm praying they keep me going now. Like,
yeah, they got to stick the landing. I really hope they stick the landing. They managed to do this every time. They other than like the first 2 seasons, but 3 and 4, they always stuck the landing in the end, and it made it worth it. Because the first early episode's not that great, and it was a similar pattern with this season, and this one is like, oh, there's much more, but it could go either way. So it's like they could stick the landing, they could be super epic, but if they don't stick the landing, it could, I don't know, it could go bad, and it could make all this kind of worthless. And I hope it doesn't. I really want them to stick the landing. I want them to make this like everybody who's ever doubted this show have to go back and rewatch this show because
It's an epic finale.
It's an epic finale. That's what I want from this ultimately.
I hope so too. So say we all for a final Battlestar.
So say we all.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being with us tonight. Make sure you tune in next week for our review of that episode and the finales to come after that. You can like and subscribe. Check out our other podcasts. Like we're almost done our Deep Space Nine review after 4 years. We're finishing the finale on Monday, and then we'll do like a retrospective the week after that before our Next Generation and the Orville review shows kick off later this month. So lots going on here. Of course, there's a Class L probe coming this way on Friday in the science division with Adam and Davin talking about some deep dive in Star Trek stuff. And I think those are all the main plugs at the moment. Of course, check out our affiliate partners in the United Federation of Podcasts, all kinds of great shows like X-Rated, where it's talk about the X-Men 97 show and more stuff X-Men. Hold Up, talking movies with Davin and Murphy. You got
Adam Woodward coming up on the next episode.
That's next week too, right? We got a lot going on right
May 22nd, so
It's
not
2 weeks.
exactly next week. 2 weeks. It's Boyhood Dreams. We're recovering. You know what? 3 movies about boyhood, basically. One of them is actually called Boyhood.
Well, that fits the theme then.
Or it's just called Boy. It's Stand By Me, The Sandlot, and Boy. Those are the 3 films.
The Sandlot. I love The Sandlot. Jane has never seen it.
I've never seen it either, Dave. I'm gonna watch
great
it.
movie.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sort of age thing, I didn't.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I get it. It came out when I was a kid, right? So
Yeah.
it's but anyway. And then but it's like
Jane watch The Sandlot in time for our episode then.
Yeah, like she likes sports movies, even though she doesn't like sports. So she might enjoy that one.
movie.
Yeah.
But Stand By Me was like my Sandlot, maybe. I don't know.
That was your Sandlot?
Yeah.
So of course, check out the Hey, Did You See This One? The other movie guys in our network. They were talking about Mystery Men tonight from 1999.
They're live right now.
They're live. They're still going, eh? They go for hours. And then Eamon on Track is going to have Jaemeel on soon to talk about the TLC album. And
Jaemeel?
Jaemeel, yeah, it's happening. The Trivial Debates is our other one where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more. And sometimes we got Hellbound podcast with Michael and Alex. Look out for that too. All right. Well, I guess that's it for night. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Adam and Murphy. And we miss you, Ashley. We'll see you on the next one. And until then, guys, Black Alert.
Black Alert.
I kept
See you next time, everyone.
Disco Discovery. Season 5 review. Discovery. Season 5 review. Discovery. Starfleet in the 32nd century.